Restomodding Daisy, and we've got a new item to talk about today. A customer sent in a gun because it doesn't work, oddly enough. So we're going to see if we can figure out why. This particular gun is a Daisy Model 102. The 102 is one of the youth guns that Daisy built since 1933 to about 1978. This gun was in continuous production. Let's take a look at the roll stamp, as is customary. As you can see, that's a Daisy 102. Just a straight up Model 102. Very similar to the current edition Buck. These guns also featured their super shortened shot tube. This shot tube would fit this gun, and this is the standard length shot tube for comparison. Of course, it's missing a bit on the end because it's had a rough life. So it's not as big as a Red Ryder. It's comparable size-wise to the Buck. Now, the problem with the gun, oh, and one last thing I wanted to show you. We're going to take a look at the lot number, which is how they identified on the gun down here. You'll see that the lot number on this one is K404733. All right, that's a code, a secret code from Daisy, and you can use that to decipher when the gun was built. They started doing lot numbers and register numbers in the early 70s, and according to the scripture, the K stands for the month of October. The number 4 is the year of manufacture, which would be 1974, and the rest of it is the production number, which number gun this was when it came out of the factory. So we have a October of 1974 Cub, pretty old piece. Now, as part of the process, the customer says the gun cocks. It does cock. The gun poots, but does not fire a BB. So we're going to try and find out why that is. First thing we want to do is pull the shot tube, because when you pull the shot tube, if you have an appropriate lighting instrument, you can shine a light down the barrel shroud and see if it's got an air tube. And we're going to see if you can see the air tube in there. That little metal tube. Is it visible?
Need a little more light. Do you mind if I grab the light?
No, go for it. So eventually we'll see if we can get a picture of the the air tube sticking out of the bottom of it. So the air tube's there. That problem, that's not a problem. That means that it's not shooting because the abutment seal is probably blasted. So since we've done the basic mechanics, which is try to shoot the gun won't shoot. We check the shroud, and we know that an air tube is present. The thing that is probably messing us up is in the compression chamber. The abutment washer that sits down here at this part is probably gone or significantly deteriorated, so there's no chance for pressure to build. To find out if that is in fact the case, we're going to go ahead and crack this puppy open and take it over the bench and pull the plunger assembly, because that will reveal all. So like all Daisies, first step is take the stock bolt out, then take out the top stock screw. The customer's already stripped this gun down once before he sent it to me, so that makes everything nice and easy. All right, so we get that done. Flip the lever open, pull the butt stock. Trigger return springs there, always nice to see. We'll flip it over. Oh, and here's another neat feature. This is an early 70s gun, so it's got the little Daisy sticker on it. And these are very, very finicky. They are foil, essentially, that were secured by adhesive to paint. And they don't live long normally. It's kind of neat to see one. And I don't think we're doing any surface work on this gun. It's not that bad. Basically, the client just wants it to, once again, shoot. So with any luck, it'll stay there for the return journey home. Next step, pull the lever. Take a look at that. Now, we want to start looking at this part of the lever when you're starting to take your guns apart. Make sure that that should show a bit of wear, but it shouldn't be worn down. I've seen a couple of guns come in lately where this nub is worn down past the ability of the lever to push the plunger back to engage the trigger sear. It's an unusual problem, but I've seen 2 of them so far this year, and I had never seen that before. But then again, I'm handling a lot more guns now than I did in the past. Next step, pull the trigger. The trigger will come out. There we go. That's a nice clean piece. Not any wear on it at all. No abrasions or molding or anything. That looks nice. All right, now we're going to step over the workbench, put it in the vise, and go through the process of pulling the plunger assembly so that we can see if our surmise about the abutment washer is in fact correct. So once again, we take the mainspring compressor tool, we slip it into the gun's receiver, we find our mainspring, we get a little bite on that, and we pull. No, we don't pull. We fight with our mainspring compressor, and we reinstall the mainspring compressor. There we go, come on, wiggle on past that rascal. Get a good bite on the mainspring, and then extract. Oh, we dropped it. It's not the end of the world. We extract the spring block. Now we're going to pull the plunger assembly out. What's one of those skinny springs? Ooh. All right, cup looks good. That is a felt washer. That's nice. That spring assembly is nice and clean, well lubed. And so now we're going to take a peek down the bore. And what we're going to find is that you'll notice a large hole. That's a very large hole. That hole is about 6 times larger than it ought to be. And what that tells me is that there is no abutment washer in this gun. It has disappeared, run off to the hills, fled, no longer present. So, whoa, wait a minute. Take a look right there. There's our abutment washer.
That's what I thought you were talking about.
I was looking the wrong place.
Wow, dude. Yikes.
All right, so.
Yeah, I was like, there's a big thing in there. What is that?
Well, I was looking.
Were you looking past that?
No, I was looking down this channel from the top. See that big hole at the end down there?
Yeah, yeah.
That's what I saw.
Yeah, I was definitely looking through the abutment washer.
I didn't see that at all.
Yikes.
So anyway, our surmise was correct.
You didn't get it out?
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Our surmise was correct. The abutment washer had become separated. Now let's take a look again.
Now that
There's a big hole.
All right, there we go.
That should not be there because this little piece of plastic should be sitting there. But what has happened is that has separated from the back of the assembly and was effectively doing this number. When the gun was cocked, instead of the abutment washer staying put here, which is where it's supposed to be, when the gun pulls back, when the piston pulls back, it was just riding back with the piston. Now, you get the squeeze, the compressed air charge develops when this action occurs. So the abutment washer is locked in place, the piston goes forward, compresses air, and the gun fires. That's why the gun would cock, the plunger would release, but no BB would come out because this thing was riding up and down the cylinder, getting a free ride every time as opposed to doing its job. So what we'll do is we'll pause the camera for a minute. We will locate another one of these washers and then we'll reinstall it and see if we can get the gun to run. So let's hit the pause button. All right, we're back. We've reinstalled the abutment washer. We've put the plunger assembly back in the gun. What we're going to do is give the abutment washer a little bit of a help. We're going to give it a couple of taps where the abutment washer is peened in place. And hopefully that will be sufficient to get it to grab again. All right, now we'll dismount the gun. Let's step over this way and let's do a function test and see if we hear a difference in the way the gun sounds. Yes, okay. I believe that is getting compression now. So let's put some BBs in it and we'll plink a few rounds down range. Here's a neat device. Got this from Cobalt 327 over on eBay. It's a BB loader. Oh man, that's slick. On a top load Daisy, that's an excellent item to have because it gets more BBs in the gun. Oh, we have firing. We have hitting of cans. All right, that little rascal's set. What we're going to do now is I'm going to pause one more time for this video and get my chronograph so we can see what the gun's running with the factory spring, the factory air tube, and the factory shot tube.
Unpaused.
Okay, well, we're back now. We're waiting for our brand new chronograph. Check that puppy out. That's a Caldwell Ballistic Precision chronograph, and we're going to see what this gun is running with the factory air tube, the factory mainspring, and the factory shot tube. So let's see what happens when we get a reading on shot number 1. 224 feet a second. Not too bad. Let's try a 5-round average here. So 224, 222, 225, 226, and 221. Not too shabby for an ancient gun from 1974. All right, so now we've established a baseline performance level. We'll get with the client, we'll figure out what he wants to do. We'll sub in a 764 air tube and a Cobalt 327 super spring. I think that will push this gun from the 225s up to the 325s, maybe even a little hotter. We are not going to be able to do the Model 25 shot tube substitution. Well, it could be done, but it would result in the barrel being lengthened from its current length to this length, and I think that might be a bit much, but depends on what the customer wants. All right, well, we've done step 1 with our Daisy Model 102, and we'll go ahead and confer with the client and see where he wants to go. The next part of this video will be demoing the gun with an upgrade mainspring and an upgrade air tube, because I just don't think we're going to get a better shot tube in it. And that'll be coming up sooner than later. That's all we have for you today, kids. This is Shane Bruce with Restomodding, signing off.